Hi Leo, Sun and Rising. Welcome to a video on the transit of Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius, which is going on beginning at the end of December of 2020, and for Jupiter for most of 2021. There is a brief period where Jupiter goes into Pisces, and then it retrogrades back into Aquarius, and it stays in Aquarius until the very end of 2020, and then at that very end point goes back into Aquarius. So I'm recording this in December of 2020. A year from now, Jupiter will enter Pisces at the very end of the year. Saturn will continue in Aquarius into 2021. Into 2022. So Jupiter is the one that is a faster moving planet, but they will both be in Aquarius during 2021. And for Leo, this is going to involve the 7th house of committed partnership because Aquarius is your opposite sign. Now, this is a general forecast, which means that the time when both of these planets enter your 7th house will depend on your particular solar or natal chart. So just understand that, but this is something that will eventually affect you. So it is something to pay attention to regardless. And let's just talk about what the 7th house represents. The 7th house is the house of committed partnership. So the 5th house is when you fall in love, when you're dating, and yet you can date somebody, or you can the 5th house is also casual sex, so you could have a friend with benefits and it never leads to anything more, right? But sometimes it does lead to something more, and we call that marriage, or living together, shacking up, whatever you want to call it. Being together as, I would call it a monogamous couple, a primary relationship. Maybe that's a better term. If you have an open relationship, you still have a primary focus with this person. Significant other. How does that work? So that's the 7th house. And so when you're dealing with commitment issues, you're talking about the 7th house. Also with the 7th house, we're talking about legal affairs. So the 9th house can be the law, and the 7th house can be the courtroom, the activity, those legal maneuvers or involvements. And so these planets will affect that as well. The transits. And what else? The 7th house are other types of partnerships. So if you are dealing with like a business partner, whether you have one now or you want one, this could be indicative of, happening at this time. The 7th house is the house of public relations. Venus rules the 7th house in the sign of Libra. So these kinds of matters can also come up for people. So public relations issues. Now, in terms of what Jupiter represents, it represents expansion. It represents luck, or as I call it, alignment with whatever it is that you are wanting to do. So being in the right place at the right time. In other words, finding, having something work in your favor instead of being challenging, an easing up of things. Expansion, luck, optimism. Jupiter rules the 9th house of higher education and foreign travel. So when we look at how it affects the 7th house, it can be a time of expanding your relationships with others. If you are dating somebody, you may want to take it to the next level. And that will be that could, well, I shouldn't say it will be like it's 100% guarantee, but that could be very lucky for you. It could be something that is more likely to work out. And this can also involve one-on-one relationships with your clients. So if you have the type of work, let's say you're a counselor, and you deal with people one-on-one. Not everybody that has their own business has that type of an intimate one-on-one relationship. I wouldn't say the same if you just own a business and you're just taking care of customers, unless you work with certain people in a partnership context. For I can't think of a good example of that, but even for advertising and things where you have to work one-on-one with campaigns and things like that, and that could be more lucky for you at this time, having a business partner. But with these clients, attracting more of them, attracting ones that are very good for you. Maybe they, sing your praises, and then you gain more through them, so they are lucky for you. If you are interested in a serious relationship, the partner could be from another country, so a foreigner. It could be somebody from a different cultural background than you. Somebody that expands your worldview. Perhaps this is even, I didn't see this, but I'm just kind of expanding on it. This is something, that you experience on your travels, where you meet somebody that is from a different country and that you fall in love with, and it's a serious relationship. If you are not happy in a relationship, you may break up with that person, but it's going to feel very lucky. It's going to feel like it's beneficial. It's not going to feel like it's a negative experience. You could have monetary gain through partnerships, because Jupiter as Venus, and Venus rules this house, deals with money. So these are all areas that you may see come into your reality in the next year. Now, for Saturn, remember that it's going to take you past 2021 as well. The big thing about Saturn in the 7th house is the idea of taking relationships seriously. Leo is a sign that is very romantic, but you're also, being a fire sign, you also have that playful aspect of yourself. And you also, as far as I can tell, are a very lusty sign. So maybe it's because you rule that 5th house that deals with pleasure, deals with recreational sex, and just fun and creativity as well. And maybe I should have said that could be something that's going on as well, as some kind of a creative partnership, because that could possibly be in the works. But in terms of how it affects your primary relationship, what I was trying to say is, if you're single, a Leo person may just enjoy dating somebody and enjoying the perks of dating somebody, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. And that you don't really need that sense of ownership of getting married or whatever, I'm obviously I'm looking at it from a kind of a negative point of view, but just looking, taking the other side of things. But, because fire signs tend to be very independent and not necessarily wanting to relinquish their freedom for just anybody. So you might have been very satisfied with the relationship as it is, but something may cause you to feel like this is serious business. And so, doing this solidifies your relationship. Saturn can be about defining, boundaries. And that can definitely come up with commitment issues and relationships where you or another person feels like we have to define this relationship. It still is we're dating, but what is this? I want to have that, be able to call you my wife or my husband. I want to be able to have this symbol, if it's a ring or a certificate that says that we are bound together. I didn't see this when I was looking up this information. I actually looked at more than one place, but I'm going to specifically give a shout out to Cafe Astrology, which has been invaluable for getting me to refresh my memory or coming up with things I wouldn't have come up with on my own about these transits. And I just use them for the ephemeris that they provide. I think they have a very clear looking ephemeris. Easy to view might be a better way of putting it. So all mad props to them. But one thing I didn't see when I was reading is the idea of Saturn affecting relationships from the standpoint, literally attracting a Capricorn person into your life, or by extension, somebody who is older, somebody who's more established, and somebody who can anchor you in life. I look at Saturn as an anchor, the symbol for Saturn, and I think that could possibly be what happens. And because you're a Libra, I'm sorry, I said Libra, because you're a Leo, this person may even be, to me, it makes me think of like if it possibly like a business partner where they are the nuts and bolts. You're kind of like the idea person, the charismatic evangelist, or person who is promoting the business, the heart of the business, and they are taking care of the logistics, or balancing the books. Somebody like that. But maybe even a love interest, a serious relationship where you're also, doing a business together. I suppose it could be even one of those situations. So getting serious about love. And for people who are already married, coupled, this is about redefining your relationship. So, looking at the relationship, is it seaworthy? Does it have legs? Is it going to continue to take us into the future? Or is it something that, has been just gradually dying? And do we need to just kind of call it quits? I read somewhere that if your relationship is already struggling, that Saturn will end it. But if it is, still hanging in there, you can actually strengthen those bonds. Because it's like Saturn doesn't want something that is not viable. So if something is kind of not, kind of flimsy, not strong, Saturn will let it go, will end it, but it's for your highest good. It's not something that is meant to, torture you or anything like that. I didn't see anything about sense of duty to your partner, but maybe, something in a similar vein. But I would say that you may feel like a lot more responsibility in your relationship for some reason. Now, one reason that this could happen is if your partner has some type of reason why they can't function to full capacity. So let's say they have an injury or they have an illness and you have to take care of them. And this is like kind of the part of relationships that we don't often think about. when we're younger, when we are not faced with it, is what do you do when your partner is incapacitated or just going through something on their own, which they cannot, maybe they're going through a lot of struggles, and you have to kind of shoulder the responsibility, take on some of their responsibilities for, whatever that means. And also seeing them in a different light. Maybe we have to relate to them differently. And for Leos, this can be very significant because you tend to see things, I think, through your own lens, and that's kind of like a self-centered thing. I'm a Sag, we're fire signs, so we tend to, come from our own perspective. But something may force you to look at them and what they're going through. And so what I typically think of is a midlife crisis, where no longer does that other person, or can they simply just go along with the program. They might be acting out in some way. And part of it may be because they want you to understand how they're feeling, and you have to do so. So there might be some kind of thing that challenges your relationship as a test. So one thing that comes to mind is infidelity. Now, I did not read that specifically that I can remember, but typically people think of infidelity as a deal breaker. And yet, for people who are very, I'm not talking about people who are in denial and who don't want to face the situation at all. I'm talking about for people who are more advanced spiritually, perhaps, or perceptually astute, and they can look beyond the sense of personal humiliation or disappointment in the betrayal, the lack of loyalty, or whatever you want to call it, and they see the person's pain and why it happened. Maybe the Leo person, maybe you were working long hours and they felt neglected, they wanted attention, and they were at a weak point, and you see that, and you can see that they love you, but you know that they have kind of committed this transgression at the same time. And this can be a test of whether or not it's enough to keep the relationship together. I'm not saying that you're going to experience this, but I'm just injecting that into this because when we talk about Saturn, it can be kind of like this this test, and to me, that's one of the ultimate tests of a committed relationship is when infidelity comes into it, and can forgiveness occur, can understanding occur, because sometimes it would be the worst thing ever to just overlook it. I mean, it could be a sign of other things, but every situation is different, and there might be times when it's it's understood. Now, because both of these planets are transiting the same sign, I feel like some of the Saturn things are softened. So maybe it won't be this harsh a test. Maybe you're going to experience more positive vibes infused into your relationship, because the light always overcomes any kind of darkness. And not to say that Saturn is just a dark planet and doesn't offer anything to us either. I don't want to be that binary. But, it's, to me, it's going to be a great experience for us to have Jupiter and Saturn in the same sign, because I feel like it can be the best of both worlds. Sometimes Jupiter is excessive, and sometimes Saturn is excessively pessimistic and restrictive, cold. And so I feel like Saturn can rein in Jupiter, and Jupiter can infuse Saturn with a bit of positivity, even as it is disciplining us in this area of relationships. Okay, that's what I have for you, Leo. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you would like to look at your individual chart, that's what I love to do. So please click on the link below to find all my different types of readings. Take care. Bye.